What's going on, builders? Welcome back to yet another awesome build. So in this video, we're building an amazing enclosure for a tiger salamander. Now, tiger salamanders can live anywhere from 12 to 15 years, so their lifespan for amphibians is pretty long. Now, their habitats actually range from woodlands to wetlands, and they actually like to burrow quite a bit in some loose soil. So this is going to be a fun one to make. So the enclosure we're going to be using to make this habitat is a terra fauna, and it's 36 inches wide by 18 inches deep by 16 inches tall. So I believe this is another one of their breeder cages, but these cages are fun to use. After preparing this cage really quick, now you do realize there's a hole here in the bottom of the cage. They actually built that in to help with drainage or plumbing for turtles, but that's okay, they do give you a cap for it. Now, while doing a hardscape, remember, take your time, place it where you want it, play around with it, move it around a little bit if you have to. So after kind of figuring out how I wanted it, I went ahead and started to use Great Stuff Pond and Stone to then go ahead and seal this first piece in. Now, I'm going with these short little cork rounds because I'm hoping that instead of digging holes, the tiger salamanders will kind of just go into these and use these as a temporary or permanent, hopefully, burrow. I'm kind of getting that first one where I wanted it and then figuring out where I wanted the second one here. So I figured I'll put this one flat against the back wall and give myself space to then plant something next to it, then adding another branch right next to that as well. I wanted this tank to look real three-dimensional so that the salamanders have lots of places to climb and hang out. Now, after I let the foam cure for about 5 to 6 hours, I then go ahead and start carving it. Now, I use a simple little steak knife or paring knife. Usually for me, that works the best. But you want to cut off all the shiny parts of the pond and stone foam because the silicone has a difficult time adhering to it. Okay, so now we're going to add a couple more branches to make this really pop off the back wall. We're going to add a couple more branches just to give it more of a rooty tree or bottom of the forest look. I decided I wanted to change something too. I wanted to add a net pot behind one of the built-in hides for the salamanders. So I do have to cut out some foam and also cut out a little piece of the cork round as well. Just using my knife to do this, I don't need to go too crazy because the net pot is only a 3-inch net pot. Okay, so now we're just going to add a couple more pieces of cork bark and then foam in the background. So after giving it about 24 hours to fully cure, you can go ahead and start carving. Once I'm done carving, I actually like to take a shot back and kind of just suck up all the little pieces that I happen to miss while I was cleaning it out. The reason for doing this is because when you are siliconing, sometimes that little piece of foam will get stuck and you'll be able to see it through the silicone even after you put the bedding on. So I do always do this after every time I carve. So we're going to be using GE all-purpose silicone for this, Silicone I. It's actually the black color. This is actually one of the very first times I've used the black silicone, but I do absolutely love it over the clear silicone. So I'm simply starting in the smallest areas first, so I can go ahead and use a little brush to kind of smooth it out so my finger doesn't get it all over the wood. And once we have that done, then we can go ahead and push the peat moss down onto it. Now after that cures for about an hour, you can go ahead and vacuum off the excess and then pretty much repeat the process over again until the entire background is covered. Now once that's done, I actually like to give it about 24 hours to fully cure, and then I go ahead and take a hose, oh yeah, and spray the whole thing down really well. Now this is going to break off anything that is loose and actually be able to show you then all of the pieces that you missed or spots that you missed or pieces that came off, however you want to look at it. And then you can go ahead and take a little dabs of silicone and touch up the background. Now that we got everything planted, we can go ahead and give it a nice little soak down before moving forward. Alright, now it's time for some leaf litter as well as some sphagnum moss to keep that humidity up in the enclosure. Now adding the springtails and also the isopods, I went with tropical white isopods as a base and then a mix batch of isopods for a little bit bigger meals, hoping they wouldn't get eaten, but you never really know with the tiger salamanders. Now again, because these animals are very high humid animal, I'm going to be constructing my own lids for this particular build because I want the humidity to stay high enough that the tiger salamanders will be comfortable. There's nothing wrong with using a screen lid as long as you have like a misting system or you spray them down every day. But again, these animals are not in my care and I don't really know how often they'll get sprayed down, so I am making sure the humidity can stay as high as possible. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen, the final product. I'm really happy with the way this one came out. My little take on a perfect enclosure for a tiger salamander. Again, this was a job. This was not actually for me, but I really, truly did enjoy building this enclosure. So hopefully you guys learned something new, and I'll see you in the next one.